Flames climbed the posts like hungry wolves as the midnight wind drove sparks across the pasture. Hart staggered from the collapsing porch, smoke carving lines in his eyes. He heard cattle bawl, and the roof groan like an old hymn. Cole said, "Who did this?" and his voice broke like dry cedar. The sky was hard with stars, and the scent of kerosene rode the heat. Embers spun and settled in his hair as if crowning him with fury. He kicked a burning door wide and vanished into the red, then stumbled out with a ledger hugged to his chest. Cole said, "Not tonight, not ever," and spat black as the rafters fell. A rifle cracked from the hill, and the weather vanes sang. He rolled behind the water trough, while glass shrieked in the windows. The wind shifted, and the blaze leaned toward the barn where the horses screamed. Cole said, "Breathe, damn you," and ran, a dark shape against a sky of iron. Somewhere, a bell rang, but no church would come. Dawn did not come. The night only thinned to a bruise. Cole stood in the ash yard while boards whispered to themselves. He listened for hooves that would not answer. Cole said, "Every hoofprint tells a lie or a truth." The ledger on the trough bled ink where cinders fell. He turned pages with careful fingers, and found numbers that did not belong. A second set, thin as a snake, hid among the totals. Cole said, "Someone wanted this to burn clean." The wind teased the scorched fence and carried a scent of cheap oil. Far off, dogs barked as if gossiping. He traced the ground where boot heels had slid and saw grit scraped by steel. The hill was quiet now, but quiet felt bought. Cole said, "You paid for silence," and he closed the ledger with a soft thud. By first light, the town bell clanged like a scold. Sheriff Amos Cutter rode in with 2 deputies and a sermon on his lips. Cutter said, tragic, "But lightning does fool men." Cole watched the man's boots more than his badge. The deputies circled like crows around a carcass. Cole said, "Lightning does not carry kerosene." Cutter smiled with only half his face and looked past the barn to the ridge. The ledger waited on the trough like a witness with a bad memory. "Cutter," said Paper Burns quick, "ashes tell less." Cole felt the air grow thin with the weight of looking. He let the silence answer first, and then he nodded toward the scrap of fused glass near the porch. He said, "Wind told me enough." Jed Boone arrived from the north trail with dust on his brim and worry in his gaze. Jed said, "You breathe. Then you hunt." Cole held that advice like a hot coin and did not let it cool. The old hand walked the yard, touched a beam, and sniffed the air like a smith. Jed said, "This was fed, not born." Cole felt a nail turning inside his chest. He showed Jed the thin numbers buried in the ledger. Jed said, "A gentle cut that steals a ranch slow." The bell quit, and the town listened without coming closer. Cole set his boot in a fresh heel scuff near the gate. He said, "They ran east, and they were not alone." Noah Pike burst from the cottonwoods with a wild look and a rifle he could barely carry right. Noah said, "I saw riders ghosting the ridge." Cole did not praise and did not scold. He simply took the words and weighed them. The trail east would cut across Crane Wash and leave stones bright with iron. Noah said 3, maybe 4, moving fast. Jed watched the boy and measured his fear like grain. Cole said, "You have the eyes, keep them open." The fire had slowed to a mean simmer, and the smoke lay flat. The day felt brittle as tin. Cole cinched his saddle and whistled once. He said, "We ride quiet, and we ride now." Cole rode east under a sun that burned pale against a sky washed thin. Jed followed steady, while Noah leaned in his saddle as if weightless. The trail split where Crane Wash shimmered with heat. Cole said, "They cut through here, dust tells me." Jed bent low, fingering iron stains on the stones, and nodded like a man counting sins. Noah said, "Why would they torch a ranch if they already had numbers in their favor?" Cole spat grit and muttered, "Because fire wipes what ink leaves behind." The silence of the wash was heavy, broken only by crows circling lazy above. Jed said, "Crows always come when truth dies." Cole turned his horse uphill, His jaw set like stone, the fire still inside him. Noah's eyes darted back, searching the ridges, as though shadows could wear boots. Cole said, "Keep your rifle ready, but do not twitch till I tell you." The town of Red Hollow lay ahead, a cluster of wood and tin pressed close under the ridge. Cole reined in, studying the street where shutters blinked like cautious eyes. Cutter's badge still echoed in his mind. Jed said, "A town that fears more than fire." Cole said, "Fear speaks when silence grows fat." Noah shifted and asked, "What if the law is the one feeding it?" Cole's gaze slid over the saloon porch where a piano stuttered and died mid-song. The ledger rode inside his coat, a weight that bent him forward though no one could see. He felt eyes behind curtains and whispers in the dust. Jed said, "Every board here listens better than men." Cole said, "Then we speak with boots, not tongues." He nudged his horse forward, and the town seemed to hold its breath. Inside the saloon, the air tasted of sour whiskey and worn wood. Cole stepped past tables where cards lay abandoned mid-hand. Evelyn Cross leaned against the bar, silk dress, a jarring color in dustland. She said, "I heard your ranch sang its last hymn." Cole froze as if struck by an unseen nail. Noah swallowed hard, unsure whether to bow or brace. Jed's eyes narrowed, measuring every flicker in hers. Evelyn said, "Sometimes a blaze clears land for stronger roots." Cole said, "Sometimes it just blackens everything." Her laugh was soft, but her eyes cut deep as wire. She traced the rim of a glass with fingers that knew secrets. Cole said, "Tell me whose hand lit it." Evelyn tilted her head and whispered, "Names cost more than whiskey here." The piano man struck one hesitant chord, then fled out the back, leaving silence to stretch thin. Evelyn walked closer, her perfume cutting through smoke. She said, "Crane owns more than land. He owns silence." Cole said, "Then I will break both." Jed shifted, warning low, "Careful. Truth cuts as sharp as steel." Evelyn's eyes softened a breath before hardening again. She said, "If you fight him, you'll find no law beside you." Cole's fist tightened on the bar, knuckles pale against soot. Noah said, "Then we'll be our own law." His voice cracked, but the words landed heavy. Cole's gaze locked on Evelyn, and he whispered, "Then guide us, or bury us." When they stepped back into the street, the air was dry and heavy as iron. Cole said, "She dances on both sides, but her shoes leave marks." Jed replied, "Trust her less than fire." Noah looked back at the saloon, lips thin with questions unasked. The street was nearly empty now, though curtains quivered with unseen eyes. Cole said, "Crane's reach runs through timber and tin." Jed said, "And Cutter is his shadow." Cole's breath was ragged but steady as he mounted. Noah said, "If law rides with him, where does justice ride?" Cole swung into the saddle and stared east. He said, "Justice rides with us until it falls, then vengeance takes the reins." The ridge above Red Hollow rolled into scrub where tracks bit deep into dry earth. Cole dismounted, crouching low to trace the heel dents. He said, "4 riders, heavy saddles, eastward push." Jed grunted, "Driven men do not hide their trail." Noah shifted uneasily, rifle clutched tight, his breath shallow. Cole rose, eyes burning against the horizon, and muttered, "They want us to follow." Jed said, "A lure dressed as a lead." The wind whipped dust across the gully, erasing faint outlines. Cole's jaw hardened. He said, "Then we spring the snare on their time, not ours." Noah frowned and whispered, "But how will we know when?" Cole looked back, voice like gravel when the land itself tells us. They pressed eastward until the sun slid like copper against the hills. Cole's horse blew hard, dust caking its flanks. Noah said, "I hear steel on stone." Jed tilted his head, hearing it too. Cole signaled for silence, hand raised firm. The clatter of spurs rang faint down the draw. Cole whispered, "Ambush waits ahead." Noah's knuckles whitened around his rifle stock. Jed muttered, "Vultures roost before meat is cut." Cole said, "Then we circle wide. Let them wait for ghosts." The three men turned their mounts up a hidden slope, hooves muffled on sand. Cole felt the weight of eyes in the twilight and said, "Patience makes hunters bleed less." They found a bluff above the draw, looking down on four riders huddled near a fire. Cole lay prone, eyes narrowing as he counted. He said, "2 werecutters' colors." Jed's breath came slow, his jaw set. Noah whispered, "Do we strike now?" Cole said, "Not with the sun still painting us red." He watched the men below laugh and spit into the flames. One pulled a flask, another laid a map across his knee. Cole whispered, "That paper smells of crane." Jed said, "Proof worth more than bullets." Cole's hand brushed his revolver grip, but he stayed still. He said, "We watch, and we take it when night makes us shadows." Night stretched, cold winds pulling smoke flat across the sand. The riders below drank louder, careless in false safety. Cole said, "Now." He slipped down the bluff, boots kissing stone soft. Noah followed, each step like a prayer. Jed stayed above, watching with rifle angled steady. Cole closed on the firelight, shadow bending over maps spread careless on the ground. One outlaw looked up too late. Cole's revolver pressed cold against his temple. Cole said, "Hands where I see them, and speak no lies." The fire popped and crackled like laughter. The men froze, their drunken courage draining quick as water. The captured men sat bound near the fire, their eyes darting like trapped wolves. Cole flipped open the map, tracing a mark that led straight into Crane's Valley. He said, "This is why my land burned." Jed's voice carried down, "Paper tells what tongues refuse." Noah asked, "What do we do with them?" Cole's stare was steel, his voice low, "We send them back with silence." The men shivered as his words sank in. One whispered, "Crane will skin us alive." Cole leaned close, hissed, "Better him than me." He tightened the knots and kicked dirt on the fire, sparks rising like lost souls. He said, "At dawn, we ride where the ash points us." The sun rose blood orange over Crane Valley, its light crawling across broken stone. Cole sat stiff in the saddle, eyes on the jagged cliffs. Jed said, "This land swallows men whole if they ride blind." Noah shifted nervously, his rifle bouncing against his back. Cole said, "Blind or not, we ride through." He traced the ridgeline where vultures circled lazy and wide. Jed muttered, "They smell more than carrion." The wind carried the faint clink of metal chains hidden in shadow. Cole's hand brushed the revolver at his hip, as if to remind it of work. Noah whispered, "What if it's a trap?" Cole growled, "It is, but we spring it on our own feet." They wound along a canyon path where walls pressed close, shadows swallowing light. Cole's horse breathed hard, nostrils flaring. Noah said, "Feels like the rocks are watching." Jed replied, "Sometimes they do." From above, stones shifted, and Cole raised his hand. He hissed, "Down!" Rocks tumbled, clattering like drums. Noah flattened, dirt spraying his face. A rifle cracked from the rim, sparks flying off stone inches from Cole's head. Jed's voice rang clear, "Ambush!" Cole rolled, drawing his revolver in one smooth arc. He said, "Fight them on their perch or die here." The canyon exploded with echoes of gunfire. Gunfire rattled across the ridge as dust smoked in the air. Cole pressed his back to a rock, bullets sparking inches away. He shouted, "Circle right!" Noah scrambled, slipping, his hands shaking but rifle raised. Jed steadied his shot from a knee, firing once and clipping stone near the attackers. A figure leaned out, firing down with cold precision. Cole hissed, "Cutter's men!" Noah shouted, "They'll pin us!" Jed said, "Not if they bleed first." Cole leaned out, aimed steady, and fired. One shadow fell hard, tumbling from the rim. Cole said, "Now they know we bite back." Canyon grew silent, save for the whimper of wounded men above. Cole climbed the slope slow, each step measured. Noah followed, breath ragged, eyes wide with the taste of first blood. Jed covered below, rifle steady, voice calm as stone, "Keep your back straight, boy." At the top, Cole found one man clutching a bleeding shoulder. Cole pressed his boot on the man's chest and growled, "Who lit the fire?" The outlaw groaned, "Orders, Crane's hand." Cole's stare froze like iron. Noah asked, "Did you kill him?" Cole said, "Not yet." He shoved the man aside, leaving him to bleed. Jed's voice echoed, "Mercy burns slower than hate." By dusk they reached an abandoned way station, timbers sagging under age. Cole tied his horse, his shoulders heavy with silence. Jed said, "You wear vengeance like a cloak, and it will choke you if you do not loosen it." Cole answered, "I'll wear it till Crane sees it." Noah dropped onto the steps, rifle across his knees, eyes hollow but awake. He whispered, "I never thought killing would sound like thunder." Cole placed a hand on his shoulder, rough but steady. He said, "Thunder fades, scars stay." Jed lit a lantern, its glow fighting the creeping dark. He said, "Night comes fast in Crane's land, and it brings more than shadows." The way station lantern flickered against cracked walls as Cole spread the stolen map across a table. His finger traced a bold mark etched at Crane's estate. He said, "This is the heart of it all." Jed leaned close, his eyes narrowed. He murmured, "Land deeds, banks, Cutter's law, all tied by Crane's hand." Noah leaned forward, voice shaking. "You mean the fire was just to erase what he couldn't steal clean?" Cole's jaw tightened. He whispered, "A ranch burned is easier than a ledger's truth." Jed said, "And Evelyn stands with one foot on each side." Cole spat, "Then she'll have to choose before dawn." Silence fell heavy, broken by the hiss of the lantern. By morning they rode through a dry riverbed toward town, dust clouds trailing behind. Evelyn waited under the saloon porch, arms folded, her eyes sharp. She said, "You're late for your own funeral." Cole swung down, boots heavy. He said, "I've buried too much to be afraid of dirt." Evelyn smirked, but her voice thinned. "Crane knows you carry proof." Jed studied her face, seeing cracks beneath the paint. He said, "You play two songs, girl, and both sour." Evelyn snapped, "I play to survive." Noah watched, wide-eyed, and muttered, "Survival smells like betrayal." Cole's eyes locked on hers, unyielding. "Then betray him before he buries you with him." Inside the saloon, Evelyn leaned closer, her voice hushed. She said, "Crane holds deeds in a vault under his manor, guarded day and night." Cole's face hardened. He said, "Then night will not guard him enough." Jed muttered, "Vaults break slower than bones." Evelyn's gaze flickered with guilt. She whispered, "Cutter signed half the papers himself." Cole's breath hissed like steam. "The law bends only to coin." Noah said, "Then we'll bend it back with lead." Jed's eyes narrowed at the boy. "Lead writes no laws, only epitaphs." Evelyn's hand shook as she poured whiskey, but she whispered, "You'll die if you walk into Crane's den." Cole said, "Then I'll walk twice as hard." They left the saloon as townsfolk parted like grass before fire. Cutter waited in the street, badge gleaming, hand resting on his pistol. He said, "Some men don't know when to quit." Cole strode forward, dust curling around his boots. He said, "Some men never should have started." Cutter smirked, "You've got one chance. Leave Crane's name out your mouth." Jed said, "Name's already carved in ash." Noah raised his rifle slightly, sweat trickling down his temple. Cutter's deputies spread out, steel flashing. Evelyn stood in the doorway, torn between silence and betrayal. Cole's hand hovered near his revolver as the street held its breath. Gunfire cracked like lightning, and the street exploded. Cutter's pistol barked first, but Cole moved faster, his revolver a blur. Dust leapt as Noah fired, face pale but steady. Jed's shot rang from horseback, shattering a deputy's aim. Cutter staggered, blood dark on his coat. Yet he grinned. "Crane will finish what I started." Cole stood over him, revolver smoking. he said. Crane finishes nothing but his own grave. Cutter coughed, fell back into the dust, badge gleaming one last time. Silence dropped heavy as townsfolk peered from behind curtains. "I'ma open the owl," Evelyn whispered from the doorway. "You've set fire to the valley." Cole answered, "Then let it burn bright enough to find him." Night crawled over Crane Manor like a black cloak stitched with frost. Cole studied the limestone walls and counted the lamps along the veranda. He said 2 guards walking a lazy circle. Jed breathed slow and steady, measuring steps and gaps. He said, "Old stones keep old sins." Noah clutched his rifle, eyes bright and scared. He whispered, "I can take the back if you give me a breath." Cole nodded once, his voice a flint. "Hold till I move." Owls called from the windbreak as if warning the trees. Evelyn slipped from shadow with a key that glinted like a small moon. She said, "The vault sleeps beneath the study." Cole looked at her hand and did not blink. He said, "If you cross me here, I'll know before I fall." She answered nothing, but her jaw trembled like glass near a flame. They moved along the veranda where boards sighed like tired men. Evelyn led them into a study that smelled of leather and smoke. She said, "The rug hides the hatch." Cole dragged the rug back, revealing iron set into oak. Jed knelt, ran a palm across the hinge and murmured, "Greased yesterday." Noah swallowed hard and watched the door. Cole said, "Open it, and keep your hands where truth can see them." Evelyn slid the key into a lock that turned with a proud click. Stairs dropped into cold breath and stone. Cole said, "No lights till I say." They descended into a room where a safe loomed like a tomb. Jed tapped the dial as if coaxing a skittish horse. He said, "Numbers talk if you listen long enough." The safe surrendered with a sigh, and paper breathed dust into the air. Cole lifted deeds bound with Crane's crest, and saw Cutter's crooked signature flowering beside them. He said, "Ashes and ink share the same maker." Boots hammered the floor above, and a voice rolled down like thunder. Bartholomew Crane said, "You steal in my house and call it justice." Cole felt the heat rise behind his ribs. He said, "I call it daylight." Jed gathered pages into his coat, movements neat as prayer. Noah set his rifle and whispered, "Say the word." Evelyn stared up the stairwell, torn between blood and breath. She said, "He will not let you leave breathing." Cole answered, "He will watch us walk." They emerged into the hall where portraits watched like judges. Crane stood tall with 6 rifles behind him. He said, "Lay down what is mine." Cole stepped forward, hat brim low, and held the papers high. He said, "What is stolen returns to daylight." Crane's smile was a blade. "Daylight burns thieves." Jed's voice cut steady. "These pages will outlive your guns." Noah shook but did not waver. Evelyn moved to Crane's side and then stopped short, her face a storm. She said, "Your fire killed more than cattle." Crane's eyes narrowed, and the room went tight as wire. Cole said, "Choose Evelyn, and live with it." She stepped away from Crane, palms open, and whispered, "I am done paying your price." Crane lunged for the cane pistol as thunder burst from every corner. Cole fired once to shatter a chandelier and drown the hall in falling light. Noah's shot pinned a guard to the banister. Jed moved like a remembered soldier, steady and spare. Crane slipped on shards and crashed, breath sawn short. Cole stood over him with the deeds pressed to his chest. He said, "You will stand in a court that does not bend to your coin." Crane spat glass and pride. He hissed, "You think daylight loves you?" Cole breathed smoke and iron and answered, "Daylight does not love, it only shows." He holstered his gun and turned to the door. He said, "We take him alive and carry these pages to the square." The dawn stretched thin over Red Hollow, painting the dust streets in pale gold. Cole rode at the head, Crane bound to his saddle, fury burning behind his eyes. Jed's voice was steady. "The town will see what justice looks like." Noah kept his rifle steady, though his shoulders slumped with exhaustion. Evelyn walked beside, cloak drawn tight, her silence louder than the hoofbeats. Curtains stirred as townsfolk leaned out, their whispers like wind in wheat. Cole said, "Let them watch. Truth walks on its own legs now." His gaze stayed forward, hard as stone, yet inside the weight pressed heavy, knowing ashes still clung to him. At the square, Cole threw the deeds on a crate, paper edges glowing in the morning light. He said, "These are the chains he forged from fire." Crane spat, "You think ink makes you clean?" Jed raised his voice, "This ink makes you guilty." Noah's hands trembled, but he shouted, "He burned a ranch to dust." Evelyn's eyes welled before she turned from Crane's glare. She whispered, "I was his lie, but no longer." The crowd murmured, anger swelling like thunder. Cole's voice struck hard. "He answers here, not in smoke." Crane sneered but sagged in his bonds, his power cracked under daylight. The sheriff's badge lay in the dirt where Cutter had fallen, gleaming under the sun. Cole picked it up, turned it once in his hand, then cast it onto Crane's lap. "Ah," he said, "this badge was bought, but now it's nothing but metal." The crowd hissed, voices sharp, calling for blood. Jed said, "Justice is not taken with rope alone." Noah whispered, "But if we let him live, he'll rise again." Cole's stare never wavered. "Then let him rot under bars where sunlight breaks him daily." Evelyn looked at Cole, voice cracked. "Mercy and rage is heavier than killing." He answered, "Mercy is not for him, it's for me." Guards led Crane away, his shoulders sagging, his curses swallowed by the noise of the crowd. Cole turned toward Jed and Noah. Jed said, "You've carved your mark in fire and ink." Noah nodded, voice soft, "And I've learned where lines burn." Evelyn stood apart, her gaze torn between relief and regret. She whispered, "I cannot stay. My face belongs to too many lies." Cole studied her, eyes heavy, then said, "Go where the ashes don't follow." She touched his arm briefly before slipping into the crowd. Jed sighed, "Every war leaves ghosts." Cole mounted his horse, the town's cheers fading into silence in his chest. By dusk, Cole rode past the blackened posts of his ranch, the sky washed red with smoke and gold. Jed followed slower, his face tired but calm. Noah's horse trailed, the boy silent, eyes cast at the ground. Cole reined in, gazed at the charred beams jutting like bones. "Ah," he said, "what is gone will never rise, but what I am will not fall." The wind carried the faint scent of ash, heavy as memory. Jed said, "The land will forgive before you do." Cole's lips pressed thin. "I don't forgive. I endure." He spurred his horse forward, leaving the ruin behind. The last light caught his figure, a scar etched against the horizon.